Before Parker Schnabel ever became a household name on Gold Rush, there were already plenty of misconceptions about the television series itself, particularly its name. Many viewers didn't realize that in its very first season, the show was actually titled Gold Rush, Alaska. That early title caused a lot of confusion, with people unsure whether the series was about Alaska exclusively or about gold mining in general. Over time, however, the misunderstanding was cleared up, and the title was simplified to Gold Rush. But before diving too deeply into Schnabel's personal role in the series, it's important to take a step back and look at the bigger picture. How did Gold Rush even begin? And what helped it become such a worldwide success? Gold Rush is an American reality television series broadcast on Discovery Channel and its global affiliates. The show follows the placer gold mining efforts of family-run operations, beginning in Alaska but later shifting primarily to the Klondike region near Dawson City in Yukon, Canada. When the idea was first pitched, there were doubts about whether it would attract enough viewers to succeed. After all, it came at a time when reality television was booming with competition. To everyone's surprise, though, Gold Rush struck a chord with audiences and performed far better than expected. Its success guaranteed future seasons, expanding the show's reach into new locations such as Guyana, Oregon, and Colorado. As of 2024, the series had already completed 15 seasons, bringing new challenges and stories. In Season 1, the name Gold Rush, Alaska set the stage. That season featured 6 men from Sandy, Oregon, a small town about 30 miles southeast of Portland. They shared their personal struggles with viewers, many of them being victims of the economic downturn that cost them their jobs. Desperate for a fresh start, they went all in and traveled to Porcupine, Alaska, in hopes of striking gold. What made their journey compelling was the fact that most of them had little to no experience in placer mining, meaning they had to learn everything on the fly. The season, however, was far from smooth. Analysts often describe it as one of the least enjoyable seasons because of constant equipment breakdowns and crew inexperience. Initially, the Hoffman crew wanted to strip mine near Porcupine Creek, but that plan was soon disrupted by Jack Hoffman's obsession with searching for an ancient waterfall, which he believed could hide a rich cache of nuggets. Halfway through the season, claim owner Earl Foster decided to bring in Dakota Fred, a seasoned miner, to improve efficiency. Despite these efforts, the Hoffman crew still couldn't find their rhythm, and they failed to cover their expenses. By the end of the season, they had only managed to recover 14.64 ounces of gold, a disappointing result. Still, the series had captured enough interest to continue. Season 2 marked a turning point. Beginning with a name change from Gold Rush Alaska to simply Gold Rush, this season introduced even more drama when Todd Hoffman missed a lease payment on Porcupine Creek. Because of that missed payment, Dakota Fred Hurt swooped in and bought the claim directly from owner Earl Foster, which legally freed him from honoring Hoffman's lease. Meanwhile, the Hoffman crew set up a new operation at Quartz Creek in the Klondike. At the same time, viewers got to see Dakota Fred's mining at Porcupine Creek and Parker Schnabel's early attempts to mine his grandfather's property at Big Nugget Mine, Dakota. Fred quickly put his own stamp on Porcupine Creek. At the very start of the season, he stripped away all of Hoffman's old equipment and replaced it with a system called a Drocket, hoping it would process dirt more efficiently. These changes grabbed the attention of viewers, and the season gained popularity, paving the way for a third season. Season 3 premiered in October 2012, bringing fresh challenges and bigger ambitions. The Hoffman crew returned to the Klondike to mine Quartz Creek. But this time they expanded operations, bringing in additional men to work a second site. Unfortunately, Todd Hoffman's team suffered constant delays and equipment failures. Eventually, they merged with Dave Turin's crew at Indian River. At the same time, Parker Schnabel ramped up operations at Big Nugget Mine using larger and more efficient machines. While Dakota Fred continued at Porcupine Creek, the season produced impressive results. Turin's crew mined 803 ounces of gold, valued at over $1.28 million, only 3 ounces above Turin's earlier prediction. Parker mined 192 ounces, while Dakota Fred extracted 163 ounces. It's worth more than $250,000. Compared to Season 1, where no team broke 50 ounces, this was a massive leap forward. The momentum carried into Season 4, which began in August 2013 with a preseason special called The Dirt, featuring interviews with cast members. Officially premiering on October 25, 2013, the season expanded the scope of the show even further. It was subtitled Gold Rush, Guyana, South America, highlighting the Hoffman crew's attempt to mine in the jungles of Guyana. Meanwhile, Parker leased land at Scribner Creek under the mentorship of mining legend Tony Beats, while Dakota Fred and his son Dustin mined Cahoon Creek, a remote post-glacial site that had only been hand-mined in the 1980s. The results were mixed. The Hoffman crew mined just 2 ounces of gold plus $1,350 worth of diamonds before abandoning Guyana. Dakota Fred and Dustin extracted 280 ounces, while Parker and his crew hit a remarkable 836 ounces. On top of that, Parker added another 193 ounces with Rick Ness, bringing his season total to 1,029 ounces worth $1.4 million. This shattered Todd Hoffman's previous single-season record of 803 ounces and even surpassed his entire 4-season total season. 5 came quicker than expected, premiering on October 17, 2014. By the end of that season, Parker's haul reached an incredible 2,538 ounce, just under $3 million, while the Hoffmans pulled in 1,349 ounces worth over $1.66 million. By now, Gold Rush had cemented itself as one of Discovery's flagship series. Season 6 premiered on October 16, 2015 in the US, with the UK airing it 4 days later. That season, Tony Beats' dredge pulled in 737 ounces. Parker bested his own record with 3,372 ounces worth $3.5 million, while the Hoffmans mined 3,032 ounces valued slightly above $3 million. The show's success snowballed. In Season 7 premiered on October 14, 2016, Todd Hoffman's mining attempt in Oregon failed, though he later broke even in Colorado with just over 1,100 ounces. Tony Beats and his family pulled in 2,100 ounces using a refurbished gold dredge, while Parker delivered a jaw-dropping 4,300 ounces, valued at over $5 million. Season 8, which premiered on October 13, 2017, upped the stakes with a wager. Hoffman and Parker bet 100 ounces of gold on who could mine more that season, both aiming for 5,000 ounces. Meanwhile, Tony Beats resurrected yet another vintage dredge, bringing back an old placer mining method not used in Dawson City for decades. By season's end, the Hoffmans mined 1,644 ounces. Parker smashed expectations with 6,280 ounces worth $7.5 million. And Tony finished with 3,659 ounces valued at $4.39 million. But Season 8 was bittersweet, marked the Hoffman family's final run on the series. Season 9 launched on October 11, 2018. With the special The Story So Far, this season introduced Rick Ness as an independent operator. Mining on his own for the first time, Parker continued at Scribner Creek, and Tony Beats ran his family's operations. Parker set a personal goal of 7,000 ounces and managed to exceed it, mining 7,427 ounces, worth nearly $9 million. Rick Ness surprised many by achieving 1,105 ounces worth $1.3 million, surpassing his 1,000 ounce target. Tony Beats, however, fell short of his 6,000 ounce goal, recovering just under 4,400 ounces. Season 10 premiered on October 11, 2019, again centering on Parker, Tony, and Rick, although Parker mined slightly less gold. 7,223 ounces, he earned more than the previous year thanks to reduced royalties and high gold prices. His haul was valued at $10.8 million. Rick Ness, meanwhile, had a tough year at Duncan Creek, finishing with just 547 ounces, barely breaking even. Tony Beats relocated to Paradise Hill due to water lease expirations, ending with 2,259 ounces. Then came Season 11. Filmed under extraordinary circumstances during the COVID-19 pandemic, while miners were deemed essential workers in the Yukon, Film crews were not. Strict Canadian travel restrictions left the production team stranded in Britain. At the start of the mining season, only one filming crew was on site with the Beats family, Monica Beats even stepping in to handle some filming duties. Parker and Rick were stuck in quarantine back in the U.S., delaying their start. Despite these hurdles, the show continued documenting one of the most challenging and unusual seasons in its history. For the new mining season, Parker Schnabel made a bold move. He successfully crossed the border from Alaska into Canada, heading straight for Whitehorse in the Yukon. Upon arrival, he followed the strict safety measures that were in place at the time, going through a 2-week quarantine before he could get back to mining. Similarly, the Beats family also entered quarantine, spending 2 weeks isolated at their mine site. Their plan was simple. Once quarantine was over, they wanted their site locked down and protected for the entire season. But things didn't go exactly as expected. After their isolation ended, a local film crew of 4 showed up to film the Beats, bringing the outside world back onto their supposedly secured claim. Meanwhile, Rick Ness had his own quarantine experience. Traveling all the way from Wisconsin to the Yukon, he tried to limit human contact as much as possible during his long road trip. To make that possible, he equipped his pickup with an extended fuel tank, allowing him to travel longer stretches without stopping. His trip was supported by a new face in the Gold Rush world, Fred Lewis, a former Special Forces medic, who joined the show with a brand new crew. The 11th season of Gold Rush officially premiered on October 23, 2020. From there, the show only continued to grow in strength, building season after season until it eventually became one of the most successful and widely loved television series of its kind. The real question, however, is how the audience received it. Looking back at the records, Gold Rush quickly became a ratings juggernaut. During its very first season finale, it earned the title of the most watched Friday night program across all of us television among male viewers. The audience demographics showed that most of its fans were men between the ages of 18 and 49. But the series also attracted women, particularly those between 25 and 54 years old. In its second season, the momentum only grew stronger. For 13 consecutive weeks, Gold Rush held the #1 spot in the Friday night ratings among men aged 18 to 49, thanks to the show's popularity. The Discovery Channel wrapped up one of its most dominant quarters ever, leading in nearly every key male demographic. The network's grip on the rankings for unscripted cable shows was so strong that during the December 28, 2015 to March 27, 2016 ratings period, Discovery ranked #1 among all non-sports cable networks for men aged 25 to 54. Even more impressively, Discovery claimed 8 of the top 10 reality shows in that demographic, including the top 3 Gold Rush, Fast and Loud, and Alaskan Bush People. The dominance continued across other male age groups as well, with Gold Rush topping the charts for men aged 18 to 49 and men aged 18 to 34. At the center of all this success stood Parker Schnabel, one of the most beloved figures of the series. Known for his determination and drive, Parker also became famous for speaking his mind, even when it stirred up controversy. At a time when no one expected it, Parker revealed some surprising details about his life as a miner and the realities behind the show. Some of these admissions were so raw and unfiltered that many feared they could hurt the show's reputation. In one interview, Parker gave fans a rare look into his personal life. When asked what he splurged on after earning millions from mining, his answer shocked people. "I really haven't splurged," he admitted. "I don't even own a house except for the one on the mine site. Right now, I'm living on a friend's couch in LA. I don't really spend money on possessions or flashy things. Instead, Parker revealed that his greatest joy came from shared experiences. To him, the biggest perk of success was having the ability to bring people together, whether family, friends, or his mining crew. He explained that most of his spending goes toward making memories. For example, he once treated his dad to a World Series game, something he considered a splurge. He also made it a tradition to take his crew on trips. Every year, whether it was a big hunting trip or a few fun days in Las Vegas. "I'm a big fan of shared experiences," he said. noting that those moments mattered more to him than material possessions. Of course, when it came to work expenses, Parker joked that he was a reckless spender. "They take the credit card away from me quite often," he laughed. What stood out most during his conversation was how much he valued his family. He credited his strong work ethic to the generations before him. His great-grandfather had moved to Alaska to carve out a new life. His grandmother joined him in 1937, and his father, who still wakes up at 4:30 every morning to work, was another major influence. Parker also recalled a particularly special summer he spent at the mine site with his grandfather. Every night, his grandfather would cook dinner and then sit down to tell stories from his earliest memories all the way up to the present day. Over 3 months, Parker received a living oral history, something he now regrets not recording, despite his success. Parker admitted that life as a miner comes with serious challenges. At just 30 years old, he had already spent half his life on television, working in a job that was hard to explain to outsiders. "It's hard to describe it without sounding like I live in some dystopian world," he laughed. "You're basically in the woods, living in a bunker, washing rocks to find shiny little pieces of gold." He admitted that this unusual lifestyle made dating and relationships incredibly difficult. Though he hoped to one day have a family of his own, he suspected the show would likely end before he had kids. What really surprised fans was Parker's stance on the future of mining. While his grandfather had passed the trade down to him, Parker admitted he had no intention of encouraging his future children to do the same. "It's outdated by about 100 years, he explained. His parents never pressured him into mining, and he believed the best thing a parent could do was allow their child to find happiness in their own way. As Parker looked to the future, he wasn't afraid of what lay ahead. He pointed out that both his father and grandfather had found new ventures later in life, proving that age is just a number. "I don't think my glory days are behind me," he said with confidence. But as the seasons wore on, Parker faced real struggles. Near the end of one particular season, his Dominion Creek claim failed to produce the gold he had expected. In desperation, he began selling equipment to Brian McCow, who quickly realized Parker was under financial strain when he managed to negotiate prices unusually low. Elsewhere, Rick Ness and his crew were facing their own gamble. Having spent nearly $1 million on removing overburden at Vegas Valley, they were banking on doubling their investment with a $2 million jackpot. But with no gold yet coming in, the risk was enormous. Meanwhile, Tony Beat's son, Kevin, was working tirelessly to prove himself outside of his father's shadow, hoping that running his operation 24/7 would help him reach his goal of 1,000 ounces for the season. For Parker, the pressure only mounted. His foreman, Mitch Bloschke, admitted they could sense the end was near when their long-cut sluicing began slowing after 19 weeks. With his Roxanne wash plant facing shutdown, Parker searched desperately for new ground. Even turning to old tailings from the 1980s and 1990s, though, initial test results were disappointing. Parker pressed on with his crew, determined to squeeze out as much gold as possible before the season ended. The weigh-ins told the story of their fight. Big Red at the Bridge Cut delivered 111 ounces. Big Bob at Sulphur Creek produced 182.2 ounces. Roxanne at the Long Cut added another 155.9 ounces. Altogether, the 3 wash plants produced 449 ounces, worth over $1.1 million. By season's end, Parker had managed to break 5,000 ounces, but with only a month left to reach his adjusted 8,000 ounce goal, it was going to be an uphill battle. Meanwhile, Kevin Beats was running out of pay dirt, and when his 480 excavator went down for repairs, things looked grim. Disaster nearly struck when his only other working excavator began smoking, threatening to end his season completely. These moments captured the immense pressure, the struggles, and the sacrifices behind the scenes. Through it all, Parker Schnabel pushed forward, determined not to give up no matter how tough things became. As the mining season pressed forward, tension across the different crews only grew. Every ounce of gold weighed meant the difference between success and failure, between making payroll and falling behind. For Parker Schnabel, those final weeks felt like a race against time itself. With the Dominion Creek claim not producing nearly enough, he had to make tough choices, including selling equipment that under normal circumstances he would never part with. This alone showed the pressure weighing on him. Parker had always been known for being sharp and tough when it came to negotiations, but when Brian McCall managed to get prices out of him with ease, it was clear that something wasn't right. Financial strain had finally started to show. Rick Ness, on the other hand, was gambling with his future. His crew had already sunk nearly $1 million into clearing the overburden at Vegas Valley. This wasn't just money spent. It was money from their previous season's profits, their lifeline for staying in the game. They took this massive risk in the hopes of striking a $2 million jackpot. But the longer they dug without finding a significant pay layer, the more stressful it became. With no gold in sight and no guarantee of having ground for the next year, Rick knew that this gamble could either make or break his career. Meanwhile, Kevin Beats was facing his own personal test. As the son of Tony Beats, one of the most legendary miners in the Yukon, Kevin was under constant pressure to prove that he could succeed on his own. Determined to step out of his father's shadow, Kevin pushed his team to work around the clock, sluicing 24/7 in the hopes of reaching the ambitious target of 1,000 ounces by season's end. But mining rarely goes as planned. Running low on stockpile PE, Kevin's operation faced breakdowns at the worst possible moments. When their 480 excavator went down for repairs, they were left relying on their only other machine. And when that one began to smoke and show signs of failure, it was almost catastrophic. For Kevin, every setback was a reminder of just how tough it was to survive in this business.